You know it's this. Take a perk and a talk of that shit. Money swallowed like sis. Did it perfect in the kid. Got a billion who sang on my head. Look me better. Put on the road I just spent. I know we got $1 million. The devil that shit ain't not cheaper again.
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to MangaMuse. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the first part of What If Deku and Hero Academia Enters Miraculous, Tales of Ladybug and Cat Noir. Special note, this fanfic is written and a masterpiece of Bola 8 on FANFICTIONnet. Do check and support the author too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. Paris, the city of lights, one of the crown jewels of civilization. Its historical and artistic value could be seen in the architecture, the customs, the sights, the sounds, and most importantly, the people. But among its beauty, there was one person, a disguised outsider, an undercovered imposter. There was a boy, 14 years of age, with 16 other years of history to carry on his shoulders. His history. The history of his predecessors was much, much older. And it ended with him. The war ended with him. A ghost of a touch on his shoulder broke the boy from his thoughts. He glanced at the wispy white vestige beside him, taking care to not draw attention to his motions lest someone started to ask questions. What, first? The whisper was so soft no one but the incorporeal figure could have possibly heard. You're doing it again. The first, the original holder, didn't have any reason to mind his volume. He was just a ghost, after all. What's on your mind this time, ninth? The boy looked aside, his green eyes catching his reflection on a store window. Golden blonde locks of messy hair like his idol's, no longer green and curly. Creamy skin with no freckles in diamond formation like he was used to. A simple getup of a black t-shirt, a green hoodie, gray slacks, but the shoes, oh the shoes. They were an eyesore of vivid red, making his low-profile presence stand out, and not in a good way. He didn't care, that was the only part of his old self he could cling to. That, and the constant drumming of power that matched his heartbeat. Just asking myself how things get to this again. How it got to the point where he saw a stranger every time he looked into a mirror, no matter how many years passed. The vestige sighed, we know it's my fault. It isn't. My quirk got you here. Your quirk gave me a shot at my dream. My quirk killed you. Your quirk let me save all their lives. At the cost of yours. A price I would pay again in a heartbeat. Knowing it would end with you here. The ninth looked at the distant Eiffel Tower, noticing all the details that distinguished it from Tokyo's sky tree. Yes. That was the honest truth. If at that moment Shigaraki was about to lay a hand on his head while he pushed all his power even further beyond to end it once and for all, if he had known. Then he would have made sure he smiled while his fist smashed away to peace. A vindictive part of his mind rejoiced at the memory of that blight's body being atomized under his knuckles, the very same part that made him look into the mirror and ask himself what he was waiting for. And to that bitter and jagged part of himself, ninth recited a certain date. October 21st, 2032. The day the glowing baby was born in China. If by some twisted turn of fate, he ended back before it all started, before any of it was even thought possible to transpire, then he would end it all. Ninth would use the quirk entrusted to him, the power cultivated for 2 bloody centuries, to end the war before it could even begin. He would destroy that miserable future with his own 2 hands. If that didn't come to pass, and he was instead on an alternate Earth where superheroes stayed forever inside the pages of comic books, then that was that. Hope for the best, prepare for the worst. It was all he could do. That's not healthy, you know. Ninth almost snorted at first's words. Which part? The imposter syndrome? Survivor's guilt? Maybe the dissociation of himself with his new identity? Ha, he couldn't call himself by the name everybody referred to him in his own mind. Even by the old one, he didn't feel like it belonged to him anymore. He was the ninth. Nobody else. Hey. A new voice broke Ninth from his spiral and stopped first before he could start a tirade. The duo looked back, even if only one of them was visible doing so. The person who called was a teenage girl, maybe a year older than Ninth's current body. Tan skin, band shirt over a tank top, skirt over ripped jeans shorts, auburn hair pulled on a high knot. Beside her was another teen, androgynous features and baggy clothes would make Ninth take an educated guess, but the pride flag pin on their denim jacket confirmed them as non-binary. They had a light complexion, black hair pulled on a short ponytail, matching band shirts with the girl, and khakis a size too big being held by a silver buckled belt. The girl walked closer. Hey, you're Adrian Agresti, right? While Ninth had a very visceral reaction to being called by the name it wasn't his, it would never be his name was gone, he externally opened a smile. A smile he saw on his idol's face millions of times. A smile that only said about how he wanted to help, how everything would be alright, how he was here now. A smile that hid all the rest inside. Yeah, that's me. Can I help you two with anything? Their posture instantly relaxed, whatever tension they had while approaching him was gone when Ninth used his natural charisma that was a cruel joke, universe to pose himself as non-threatening. He wouldn't hurt anyone that didn't deserve it, but Ninth was under no delusions. He could break an armed hostile over his knee with only his training and experience as both a hero and vigilante, throw his quirk in the mix and Ninth would admit he was a danger that people should be wary of. Wow. Sorry, it's just, ahem. We're fans. The girl motioned to her friend and herself exaggeratedly, clearly still nervous but now from her own excitement. I really like your work, both modeling and all the communitarian stuff you do. Even helped on the fire department renovation, believe it or not. That made Ninth's eyes soften. Thank you for offering a hand for people who needed some help in a difficult time. The girl yelped, not expecting the sincere praise. It was nothing. I just heard you on that TV show promoting it and telling everybody how the world can't stand if its pillars crumble, and decided, what the heck. It was a fun Saturday, at the very least. The teen, who finally mustered enough courage to speak, nodded at their friend's words. Why yeah. You're always going on about how we have to rise above our fears if we want to change the world we live in, and that's really inspiring, you know. The duo traded a glance. One Ninth could see a whole conversation passing through. That was why we decided to follow our dream and form a band, and I know it's gonna sound cheap, but we have to be sure. Do you really mean all that? Huh, would you look at that? Seems like little, weak Deku isn't so useless after all. You know, some time ago, I asked the person I always looked up to if I could achieve my dream. You know what he said? The girl gulped. What? He said no. That I should be realistic instead of chasing something impossible. Ninth saw their faces falling, so he quickly followed up, and it just made it all the better when I proved him wrong. At the two's wide eyes, Ninth chuckled. While he didn't resent All Might, never had and never would, Ninth was mature enough to admit the same little part of him that wasn't very nice, which was a polite way to say it desired to commit atrocities on the regular. Maybe he did need therapy. Got ecstatic at seeing the symbol of peace. Admit he was wrong about the quirkless boy in his dream. I won't say it won't be hard, or there won't be moments it won't seem impossible, but Ninth remembered the words that turned his whole world on its head, endured the stab of pain at the memory of a time that would never come back, and clenched his raised fist. You can do it. My Deku now means, you can do it. Ninth knew that making his fans cry would earn him an earful at his house. It wasn't home, but their happy smiles and sudden hugs full of heartfelt gratitude for supporting their dreams were worth all of it. After parting ways with the duo of future musicians, having given them both autographs, funnily enough, Ninth went back on his track. He managed barely 2 steps before cracking at the pressure of his predecessor's ghostly eyes on him. What? You're a hypocrite. Ninth only rolled his eyes at third's remark, yes, thank you for noticing. Fifth barked a laugh at his retort, man, I love ya new snarky side, kid. This time, the eye roll was fonder. Ninth had developed some new personality traits since the old days, most of them a result of a then-developing mind trying to deal with all the trauma it was overloaded with. One such case was a dry, rude, and slightly morbid sense of humor that Ninth ended up enjoying, surprisingly enough. Seriously though, you should find some outlets for your pent-up stress that isn't overworking, or forcefully projecting. It's called empathy, fourth. It's a useful little thing that helps connect to people so I can help them to not get as F up as me. Oh, his inner Kaken was showing. Ninth knew now was the time to cut unpleasant conversations short before he exploded at someone. For both their and his bones' sakes. Ninth took a deep breath and restarted his march. He ignored the vestiges and checked his wristwatch analogic, less chance of someone messing with it, and Ninth could always rig a bomb if the need arrived. The little stop would end with him late. Taking a deep breath, he bolted on a dead sprint, blitzing through the street. He couldn't outrun his personal peanut gallery, but they understood he wasn't in the mood and the clock was ticking, wisely backing off. All of them but the eighth. My boy, you know I am here for you. If there's anything you need to get off your chest dash. I'm fine, all might. Ninth cut the golden vestige, not once looking the man in the eyes. He couldn't. Not without feeling that old churn of guilt and longing choking the air out of his lungs. You said that in Japanese. Of course, he did. Ninth had to take a deep breath to drown the expletives that crawled up his throat, for all the good it did. I'm fine, all might. He said in proper French, even if each word tasted like ashes and memories of a friend who was puppeteered by a monster. There was no answer. Ninth risked a glance over his shoulder and confirmed he was alone on the street. Good, now he could focus on finding where he should be going. College Françoise Dupont. A school focused on artistic, physical, and intellectual pursuits. One that Ninth would need to waste his time attending from now on. There was no hero course. No combat training. No rescue simulations. No first aid and triage capacitation. No nothing. Ninth had no way of further developing his skills, actually valuable skills, in that place. Even then, he would be forced to waste most of his day inside it. Ninth knew Natalie's heart was in the right place, but bloody hell, she could have put the effort to achieve something more significant than convincing the Agresti patriarch to send Ninth to public school. At least he could use the refresh for the subjects. Ninth had to be on par with everything if he wished to keep appearances of being a gifted child who simply developed faster instead of having mostly consistent knowledge from receiving an education 2 centuries in the future. Getting caught knowing an important historical event before it happened wasn't a pleasant experience. Enough tangents. Ninth let the distractions created by his own mind go on for too long, and while he was calmer, he still needed to reach class on time. Checking a map he kept hidden in an inner pocket of his hoodie, less up-to-date information, but it was more reliable than something digital that could be tampered with without his notice. Ninth saw he was only a block away. Bringing his eyes forward, he saw the sprawling building with the same vein of modern architecture that still fit with older nearby constructions most of Paris went for these days. It wasn't as big as UA's main building, much less the whole campus, but it was still a decently sized place. Ninth would need to scout it and mark all the access points, chokeholds, and defensive positions. Well, a task for later. Ninth began to slow down so he could climb the stairs. He already could see the place lacked accessibility measures, something he would also need to look into, steady his breath, and look for his class. Unfortunately, another hurrying student didn't have the same idea. The collision only happened thanks to the absolute lack of danger sense's usual warning. The absence of a sharp stab of pain through his brain which usually indicated imminent danger threw Ninth off his game for a fraction of a second. That interval was enough for a body to crash into him. Adrenaline and instincts kicked in at that moment. Ninth felt the world slow down as he took in the details while his body moved on its own, another part of him that was thankfully still the same. Girl. Approximately his physical age. Blue eyes, wide in surprise and panic. Blue hair, tied in pigtails. Fair skin. Freckles of course. White shirt. Black jacket, no signs of concealed weapons. Pink pants, tight, no space to hide anything that could pose a threat. Running shoes, size consistent with her height. She was very short, improbable to be used to stash anything dangerous. Small shoulder bag, a possible liability, but zipped so in the worst case he could secure it. While the threat assessment happened, his body moved quickly to catch the girl before she could fall. She was smaller and lighter than him, which made the girl all but rebound from impacting Ninth. Holding her by the arms, to both steady her and be able to contain the girl if needed, Ninth pulled her up and settled the girl on her feet. You okay? Are you hurt? Low voice, short and concise sentences, eye contact, smile. Ninth was dealing with a civilian in need of help until proven otherwise. Yes. Yes, I'm okay. The girl was staring at him, cheeks flushed, from running or embarrassment, he didn't know. Sorry. I'm late, and I didn't see you. I'm so sorry. It's okay. Ninth let her go slowly now that the girl was standing on her own. He still kept his hand slightly raised to counterattack at the first suspicious movement. You hurt yourself running into me more than the other way around. Are you sure you're okay? She nodded quickly, yeah. I'm kinda clumsy, crashing into stuff all the time is normal for me. She let out a strained laugh. Sorry again, but I'm late for class. Well, Ninth could work with that. Do you study at François Dupont? I just got enrolled there and needed some help finding my classroom. Oh. Are you in Mademoiselle Bustier's class? Yes. You're in my class then. The girl smiled at him for a second before hastily turning away. I'll guide you there. Thank you. Ninth fell in step with the girl, having to catch her again when she stumbled on one of the steps, much to her embarrassment. He didn't comment on it, instead focusing on mustering the courage to SCK it up and introduce himself. He got a whole lot ruder since finding himself in that situation, but Ninth still had a bottom line. By the way, my name is Adrienne Agresti. What's yours? The girl did a little hop to accompany her yelp, and Ninth had to catch her a third time. She was indeed clumsy. Thanks. I'm Marinette. Marinette de Paincheng. Chinese descendants. Not something you see every day. Even then, another small part of Ninth, the one that caused him to be painfully aware of how alone he felt, specifically in crowds, cheered at having met someone even tangentially Asian. Being born French didn't change the fact he was also born Japanese. Nice to meet you, Marinette. Would you look at that? He made a friend. A teasing and extremely familiar voice called out, making Ninth roll his eyes on instinct. It's a miracle. Ninth shot a flat stare at the approaching girl. She was almost as tall as him, also blonde hair pulled on a ponytail, but her eyes were bright blue. Her tan had gotten a shade darker since the last time he saw her, probably from spending too long in the sun. What didn't change was the zip-up hoodie, yellow with black accents, and a smiley on the left BRST which Ninth had gotten her years ago and she never stopped wearing. The thing must have gotten resized at least 10 times by now. Her faded white pants matched her shoes, those being just work clothes. She wasn't afraid of getting dirty. To top it all off was a pair of sunglasses on her forehead. Nice to see you too, Chloe. Wait, you know each other? Marinette looked from Ninth to the newly arrived Chloe, eyes wide. Before Ninth could answer, the other girl jumped in, he's my dad. He gave Chloe another flat stare. I'm joking. He's my older brother. Chloe. Each completely done sigh he let out made Ninth understand his old homeroom teacher a little more. DMN problem children. Going right past him, Chloe linked her arm with Marinette's, probably to help the girl not stumble on her own feet again. I'm being serious, mostly. This grumpy cat had been looking out for me since I can remember. Sensei, know your student is very sorry for all the headaches he gave you. Ninth just wouldn't apologize for the broken bones because, well, he had a good reason for those. Mostly. Marinette blinked, twice, 3 times, okay, I'll need some more context. We're on the clock. Ninth's reminder got them moving, but he knew trying to stop Chloe from gossiping was a fool's errand. Chloe, half walking along, half carrying Marinette, pounced at the chance of poking fun at Ninth. Okay, so, remember when we were 9 and I showed up in class with this? She pulled at the hoodie to indicate what she was talking about. Yeah. I never saw you without it since then. And you asked me to refit and repair it a bunch of times. So Marinette was the one to do it. Huh, what a small world. Yeah. Azzy got it for me when I disowned my mother. Chloe spat the last word as if it was a sarcastic insult, which for her, it pretty much was. What? Yup. She popped the P with too much cheer, adjusting her sunglasses casually in a nervous tic which Ninth saw her develop but never called her out on. You know my father isn't the most present person, being the mayor and whatnot. Beyond that, he is too soft to really educate a child. Q Azzy. She gestured energetically at Ninth, who was too busy looking around and counting all possible escape routes. Since our families, and I exclude my mother from that, were close, they decided to arrange playdates for us. Chloe gave a very unladylike snort at that. Marinette gave her a confused head tilt, I could practically hear the air quotes. What's the matter? She shot Ninth a glance he pretended not to notice. Azzy decided to be too mature for that and instead became my role model for life. That pretty much is the reason I adopted him as my older brother, and only because calling him dad non-ironically is creepy. Chloe laughed at his deadpan, enjoying it way too much. She held Marinette up while he stumbled for the 4th time in as many minutes. He was the one to show me what it meant to be a good person and help me with all the rich kids' problems I had to deal with. Like, you know, crippling loneliness, fake people trying to use me, attempted kidnappings. Marinette would end up kissing the floor if she kept losing her footing every 2 steps. What? Why haven't you told me about that? Or the other things? Are you okay? Blame Azzy too. He taught me how to be paranoid. Ninth had to speak up at that. It isn't paranoia if they're really out to get you. It is when you know how to rig a bomb and sleep with the components under your pillow. That's called being prepared. That's called domestic terrorism. That's called none of your business. A great man once said, sticking your nose in other people's business is what being a hero is all about. I will only agree with you because I'm not the one who originally said that. Take the DMN compliment. Make me. Is that a challenge? No. It's a threat. Marinette watched the back and forth as if it was a tennis match. Turning from one blonde to the other and back in quick succession almost made her dizzy, but it left it pretty clear, okay, I can see the semblance now. I told her there were better character traits to emulate, but she decided that my dumpster fire of a personality was the way to go. Ninth let the particularly scalding remark against himself slip, earning an attempted slap on the back of the head from Chloe he promptly dodged. The girl glared at him with steely eyes and a set jaw. No one can insult my sorta brother, including you. Am I clear? You show him, girl. Ninth ignored Seventh's remark in his head with practiced ease, just nodding at Chloe to de-escalate the situation. By the way that her frown deepened, she wasn't convinced. Choosing another topic to try changing the subject, Ninth motioned to the girl's linked arms. You two are friends? Marinette, the lifesaver, hastily nodded and answered, yes. Chloe and I have been in the same class since kindergarten. She gave him a meaningful look, one that Ninth felt deep in his bones he didn't deserve. He never would deserve any admiration. I saw how she changed over the years and always asked myself what caused it. I guess I have to thank you. I didn't do anything. Chloe's growth is her own merit and no one else's. Chloe growled at Ninth, take the DMN compliment. No. Marinette gave a forced laugh, breaking them from their bickering before it could start. We're here. She motioned to the door they just reached. Ninth took the chance to hit the emergency eject button from that conversation, dipping inside the classroom and zeroing in on the first empty spot he saw. The place was structured in an auditorium format, with the back rows being higher than the front ones, so taking a back seat would give a better field of view but would delay his time of response to threats if they came from the door. While the high windows were another access point in case of an invasion, the door was still the statistically most probable point of entry. No, he wasn't paranoid. Ninth took to the middle second row, where he could react to anything happening inside the room the quickest. The spot would seat 2 people, one of which was already occupied by someone. Ninth put his people smile back on and approached the boy. Excuse me. Is this spot already taken? The boy turned to him. Darker skin, red cap over short black hair, orange headphones, square glasses not hiding maroon eyes. Blue shirt and jeans, he could see the phone case peeking out of the pocket. The bag by his side was open, Ninth being able to spy on the contents and only seeing school materials. Most importantly, the boy had an approachable air that told Ninth that he wouldn't take offense of, Ninth's usual way of being he was AF train wreck. No, dude. It's all yours. He gave a natural inviting smile, you knew. Yes. First day at this school. Cool. Nino Lahif. He offered a fist. Nice to meet cha. Ninth pumped fists with the boy to give himself a moment to prepare himself to speak the dreadful name he was trapped with. It never got any easier to say it, likewise. I'm Adrian Agresti, I hope we can get along. 2 friends in a day, maybe it really is a miracle. Chloe took the shot at him while climbing to her seat, which was directly behind him. Chloe, don't be mean. Marinette, whose seat was directly in front of Ninth, tried to rein her friend in. To no avail. Before any more words could be traded, the teacher walked in with a book and a folder in hands. The woman was taller than Ninth, with orange hair and soft blue eyes, along with her professional but still somewhat casual outfit, making her a lot less strict-looking than his last homeroom teacher. Let's see how long it would take for her to start hating him too. Oh, I see your new classmate is already here. Why don't you introduce yourself? That day was just going great, wasn't it? Marinette was freaking out, a lot. She quickly positioned her phone and started to text her girlfriend's group. Small menace, guys. Small menace, first. Who changed my name again? Small menace changed her name to Marinette. Smiley bitch changed Marinette's name to Small menace. Smiley bitch, take the L. Fashion police, you know Chloe won't stop, just accept it. Small menace, Sabrina, can you please control your gremlin? Marinette shot the auburn-haired girl 2 rolls up a pleading glance. Sabrina's only answer was to adjust her glasses, fold her blue sweater sleeves up, and jab an elbow on Chloe's side. The blonde didn't vocalize her reaction, but she did shoot both girls dirty looks. Smiley bitch, I'm gonna get back at you 2 later. Smiley bitch, when you least expect it. Scoop-doo, looks like my first front page article will be a murder case. Marinette shot Alya with a very unimpressed look. The girl's brown eyes twinkled with mischief, which was the only warning Marinette got before her friend, taking advantage of sitting right beside her, flicked her long brown to orange hair at Marinette. She closed her eyes in time but still got a faceful of hair. As revenge, she reached out as if to pinch Alya's bronze-skinned cheek, only to alter course and pull her glasses down her nose. While Alya rolled her eyes and pushed her glasses up, Marinette finished her retribution by flicking the collar of her orange and pastel checkered button shirt up. With her friend sufficiently annoyed, Marinette went back to shooting texts while noting down the teacher's words. Small menace, back on topic. Small menace, second. Chloe, we are gonna talk more about those rich kids problems you mentioned. Smiley bitch, there's not much to talk about. Small menace, you got kidnapped. Scoop-doo, wait what? Smiley bitch, attempted kidnapped. Fashion police, so the subject finally came up. Smiley bitch, blame Azzy. Scoop-doo, the new kid tried to kidnap you. Smiley bitch, of course not. Smiley bitch, he just took down the 4 armed men who tried. Smiley bitch, because he's extra like that. Fashion police, wait a second. Fashion police, you didn't say they were armed. Small menace, Chloe. Small menace, I'm hugging the CRP out of you. Smiley bitch, I'm terrified. Smiley bitch, anyway. Smiley bitch, everything is fine. Azzy was there. Scoop-doo, you say that as if he's some superhero. Fashion police, if you're not aware, Alya. Adrian has a self-defense program he funds and sometimes teaches. Smiley bitch, he's a black belt in at least 3 different martial arts. Fashion police, and he's a tough BSTRD. Small menace, Sabrina. Smiley bitch, no, she's right. Smiley bitch, Azzy is built like a SHT brick house and he both can and will kick your butt given a reason. Small menace, he seems nice. Marinette blushed while sending a follow-up message. Small menace, but I understand the first part. Small menace, when I crashed into him at the school gate it felt like I had run into a wall. Smiley bitch, WTF. Scoop-doo, the crash part was literal. Fashion police, how did you manage that? Small menace, why are you guys so surprised? I always crash into people. Smiley bitch, sweetheart. Smiley bitch, listen. Smiley bitch, I spent 5 years thinking that Azzy had eyes on the back of his head. Smiley bitch, and I'm still not convinced he hasn't. Smiley bitch, you don't get Azzy by surprise. Ever. Fashion police, one time he was sparring against us after a self-defense class, both at the same time, and we couldn't even touch him unless he let us. Fashion police, there was a moment when Adrian had his back to me to focus on Chloe. I tried to sneak a hit in. Fashion police, that but backflipped over me, put me in a stranglehold, then threw me at Chloe. Fashion police, nice catch, by the way. Smiley bitch, thanks. Scoop-doo, if Sabrina is swearing that much, you aren't joking. Smiley bitch, we aren't. Smiley bitch, which only makes it even more absurd Marinette's clumsiness somehow negated Azzy's sassiness. Smiley bitch, girl, I think you're the only person on this green earth that got him. Small menace, you're exaggerating. Smiley bitch, I'm really not. Fashion police, she's really not. Scoop-doo, you two aren't making too much of a big deal out of this guy. Fashion police, I wish. Smiley bitch, Azzy's resume is too bloated with him working himself to death trying to better the world for him to be a footnote. Marinette's eyes widened. She finally recognized the name, face, and general person she had been talking to and about that whole day. Small menace, he's that Adrian Agresti, isn't he? Smiley bitch, I'm pretty sure there's only one Adrian Agresti. Small menace, yes. The model, turned philanthropist, turned vocal advisor for a dozen societal reforms, turned celebrity in general. Scoop-doo, okay, WTF. Scoop-doo, how's this guy this important and I didn't hear of him? Smiley bitch, he hates attention. Smiley bitch, I also blame him for me hating attention. Fashion police, in this house, we blame Agresti. Fashion police, but yeah. He tries to change all people's focus on what he's talking about / doing rather than the fact he is the one doing it. Scoop-doo, that does sound like Chloe. Small menace, and if you want an example. Remember the parade for gender equality that happened last month? Scoop-doo, yeah, it was all over the news. Scoop-doo, he started it, didn't he? Smiley bitch, he personally went to my dad's office to say it was happening, no matter what anyone said. Fashion police, and that's threaten the mayor, crossed out of the bingo. Fashion police, I'm only missing going through with the domestic terrorism, now. Small menace, that talk about bombs was true. Smiley bitch, who do you think taught me how to make bombs? Scoop-doo. Sabrina, aren't you supposed to be the responsible one? Fashion police, my dad is a cop, that doesn't mean I have to police you gremlins. Smiley bitch, Azzy also bribed her with lessons to help her get an early start to prepare for the police academy. Small menace, I am very conflicted. Marinette risked a glance over her shoulder, seeing Adrian writing in his notebook blazingly fast. He had a hand over his mouth, but she could still hear his soft mutters. He didn't look like anything Sabrina and Chloe said. Looking into his misleadingly bright green eyes, Marinette didn't see a person greater than life, or someone forceful to get what they wanted. She saw someone sad. Sad and tired. Maybe Adrian just needed a person to talk to and drop the masks. Ninth needed to get out of that place and go back to deal with the truly important problems he had, such as training for fighting in the possible collapse of society. And preparing to maybe commit murder. He had a busy schedule for the next few decades. When the bell finished ringing, Ninth was already halfway out of the school, pointedly ignoring the few students already out of their classrooms and rushing for the exit. Adrian, wait. You gotta be kidding, what? The shorter girl stopped just before him when Ninth finished turning, freezing like a deer in headlights. Seeing her wide eyes, the faintest trace of fear in them, Ninth forcefully strangled his annoyance back. She was an innocent civilian who had no fault for his bad mood. Ninth owed her more care than that. I'm sorry. What can I help you with, Marinette? The girl instantly relaxed her wound-up posture. Still, her eyes were locked with his. She couldn't possibly see it, could she? I dash. Marinette coughed to try to make her voice stop breaking. I just wanted to say. Ninth saw she had lost her courage to say whatever was originally in her mind. Softly sighing, he nodded in encouragement to see if she could push through. Yes. It's, my parents own the bakery across the street. Feel free to drop by, if you want to, of course. That wasn't what the girl wanted to say at first, but if she dropped whatever idea it was, Ninth wasn't about to poke around for it. Sure. Now if you excuse me. Just as Ninth turned, a familiar poke on the mind from Danger Sense made him tilt aside, letting Chloe's arm pass by him uselessly. See? Eyes on the back of the head. The blonde scoffed, trying again but having the same results. Ridiculous, utterly ridiculous. The only ridiculous thing is how delayed I got from getting out of this place. Ninth's muttered retort was drowned by him throwing the front doors open wider. He took in a deep breath of fresh air, then cursed. Danger Sense flared. Civilian. Elderly. In the middle of crossing the street, with a truck fast approaching. The man wouldn't make it in time. Whatever hope Ninth had to quickly crack the math to see if he was going to need a boost to deal with the situation went out the window when Marinette took off running. Thankfully, she reached the elderly man on time. Unfortunately, she wouldn't be able to pull him out of the way and get clear quickly enough. Well, plus ultra. A single percentage of power, raw and overwhelming power, shot through Ninth's veins. The glow was almost impossible to notice in the afternoon sun, minuscule green arcs of lightning lost against the color of his hoodie. Even then, that single fraction of almighty strength pun very much intended let Ninth cross the distance quicker than a blink. He grabbed Marinette and the elderly man without breaking stride and skidded to a stop on the safety of the sidewalk. Are you two okay? Ninth asked calmly, just like he was trained for. The power flowing through him receded before anyone could notice, once more falling dormant. Yes. Thanks to the both of you. Something about the way the man said that reminded Ninth of another short old man, one who really liked taiyaki and beating up teenage hero wannabes. Only doing my job, sir. Ninth risked a glance back, seeing the truck driver had stopped and was coming at them looking very shaken. Oh well, a hero's duty never ends. Marinette all but collapsed on her desk chair. That day was simply too much. Way too much. She slept through her alarm, again. Then she ran right into a celebrity. Then she discovered her childhood friend had a much rougher life than anyone thought. Then she decided to be a considerate person and ran after at least not into the celebrity she met to try asking if he was fine. Ugh, Marinette should have thought things through. Then, oh God, she almost died. Marinette didn't know how Adrian had moved so fast, but thanks to him she wasn't a pancake now. Not only that, but the old man who put her on the spot in the first place and the truck driver were also perfectly unscathed. The only bad thing to come out of all that mess was the earful Marinette got from her parents. And even that was downscaled to stern but loving words after Adrian took the blame for it. Her cheeks warmed at the memory. The boy walked to her parents and spoke truthfully, no sign of the practiced smile Marinette saw him put up to everyone, bar Chloe and Sabrina. It's not her fault, her legs moved on her own, right? Adrian had asked her, understanding clear in his bright eyes. Were they brighter? Must have been the light. If she hadn't moved first then I would. If you want to blame someone, blame me. That was the only part Marinette had a problem with. She could just see in Adrian's posture how he kinda expected it all to be his fault. Ah, if at least Marinette hadn't chickened out, maybe she could have offered to listen to whatever was weighing on him. The girl let out a defeated sigh and started to fish for her homework. Hopefully, it would get her mind out of things. What? Marinette blinked at the ornate box inside her bag. That wasn't hers. Did she misplace it with something from one of her friends? She pulled out the box, a hand-sized octagonal thing, black with golden accents. Some kind of jewel box. Well, it didn't have any name on it, so Marinette had no option but to look inside and see if she recognized whatever it was so she could return it. Just as she was about to open the box, a strange feeling hit her, as if Marinette should think better about what she was about to do. Unfortunately, her clumsiness attacked again and the box almost slipped from her hold. While Marinette caught it in time, she also popped the lid open. A red flash blinded her for a second. When the spots faded from her vision, a red and black. Marinette wasn't sure what to call it. It was like a chibi-style doll with a ladybug theme and brilliant blue eyes. The only problem was that those eyes moved to look at her. The thing was floating in the air, and it spoke. Hi, Marinette. Before she could understandably start screaming, the thing flew at her and put one of its tiny hands over her mouth, somehow shutting Marinette up. No screaming. I'm gonna explain, but I need you to listen, okay? Everything will be alright. Marinette felt herself nodding against her better judgment. What was she doing? The thing floated back and smiled proudly at Marinette. Let me start from the beginning. I'm Tikki, the kwami of creation. She gave a formal dame bow that looked adorable from such a small thing. I know what you're gonna ask. Kwamis are embodiments of the concepts that make up the world, like the gods you humans venerated once upon a time. No need to grovel, or freak out. Good to know, but... Marinette's sudden fear of getting smited didn't fade. Next question. I know you're thinking. Was Tikki reading her mind? No, I'm not reading your mind, your face is just very expressive. Ah, there was that too. And I am here because you got chosen, Marinette. Chosen for what? The kwami flew down back to the box, gesturing to the pair of earrings safely resting inside. These are the Ladybug Miraculous. They were made long, long ago with ancient magics you can't even dream of. The Miraculous is capable of attuning both holder and kwami, letting a human wield great power. Tikki smiled at Marinette with those brilliant eyes again, and you now will be the one to carry this power. What? Why me? I don't want to be a superhero or something. Marinette barely could walk to school, which was literally across the street, without stumbling on her own legs. There was no way she could wield great power or whatever the heck Tikki was expecting of her. I know. Tikki's face softened, getting an almost melancholic quality. I know, but even then, I have to ask you to be one. Why? If Marinette's sob of a question was any indication, she wasn't cut for it. Because one of mine got taken away, Tikki admitted, crestfallen, and Marinette had the urge to hug the kwami to try comforting her. He got taken away decades ago, taken from us. I don't want to put this burden on you, but I know you're the only one who can bring him back. You and your partner. Partner? Yes. Don't worry, you won't be going through this alone. My little flea bag was given to someone who will help you through this, and from how excited he was, I'm sure your partner will be great. Ninth once more felt his inner Kaken pushing him to explode something, or someone, in an act of rage. That old BSTRD had somehow sneaked a box into his hoodie's pocket while Ninth wasn't looking. The man bypassed danger sense, his natural alertness, and planted whatever the box was without Ninth realizing until he was back in his room. He was getting rusty if something like that happened right under his nose. Relax. It's just a tiny box. Seventh's wispy vestige floated by Ninth, a grin on her face. Maybe it's a gift from saving that guy's life. Oh. I bet it's cookies. If that was it, that man wouldn't have sneaked it into my pocket, Ninth growled, putting the box carefully on the center table while making sure it wasn't jolted. The DMN thing could be an explosive for all he knew, or maybe a chemical weapon. Ninth knew how bad people didn't care about the Geneva Convention, but again, war crimes were only crimes if you lost the war. He forcefully stopped to recenter himself at the thought. That was something that Monster would say, and Ninth would smash his own skull in before he became anything like him. Now calmer, he fished inside his closet for the meat hook he attached to a PVC pipe specifically for cases like that, finding it just over his stash of gasoline canisters. How did you get all that again? Fourth asked with a raised eyebrow. The gesture pulled at the jagged crack-like marks on his face. You know very well how. Ninth went right through the vestige and positioned himself behind the couch facing the table. Are you guys still going to goof around, or can we deal with this? First gestured at their ghostly forms. You say that like we're much help. You all can look at what's in the box without fear of getting killed. Ninth supported the pipe on the couch's backrest and lined up the hook. Just tell me if something weird happens. Weirder than a bunch of ghosts haunting you? Yes. Ninth chopped his palm down at the tip of the pipe, the lever movement making the hook flip the box lid off. He instantly dropped behind the couch to hide, getting ready to make an escape at a moment's notice. A second passed, then 2, 3, 5, 10, see something weird? He asked the vestiges. The voice that answered him didn't belong to any of them, depends. Does a kid hiding behind a couch with a homemade harpoon count? Ninth's body burst with viridian lighting. Within a fraction of a second, he moved across the whole room and away from the couch. No. No. It was too soon. The floating cat-like being getting stared at by Ninth and his predecessors was almost 2 decades too soon. It was impossible. No one should have a quirk yet. Oh, I got a whole welcome committee. How nice. The cat thing laughed, its black body turning this way and that before slitted green eyes focused on Ninth. Thanks, little hero. In a blink, Ninth was onto the thing, hand about to snatch it out of the air. It dodged, being able to keep up with Ninth using 18% with bored ease. Sorry, kid, I'm not much of a touchy-feely guy. I can change my mind if you get me some cheese, though. Ninth lunged at the being 2 more times, and when both failed, he gave up on capture and went straight to elimination. His legs and arms blurred in a barrage of attacks that kicked up a veritable whirlwind inside the spacious room. Training equipment, tools, books, and annotations went flying, but the little cat didn't even come close to getting scratched. You're a rowdy kitten, I'll give you that. But again, so are all your predecessors, right? The cat looked straight at first, and that sent all of them into a frenzy. Forget everything else, how could this thing see the vestiges? How the hell can this thing see us? Thanks for speaking his thoughts, fifth. Of course, I can see you. I am the kwami of destruction, after all. The snarky tone was amused as if the cat thought it all a funny GG. And what's that supposed to mean? Second's question was followed by a wary stare bordering on a hostile glare. I'm glad you asked. The cat, kwami, vanished in a black blur. A kwami is, in your superhuman terms, a Class 6 conceptual manifestation quirk. It said from its new perch on Ninth's head. Ninth felt his heart stopping. While most quirk definitions were still vague and generic even after 2 centuries, the most educated minds of Island had come up with finer detailed categories for research purposes. The class system determined potency. Not strength in the typical sense, or how dangerous or destructive the quirk was. No, it was a metric of the effect a quirk could produce while exerting itself. It went from 1, where most untrained population quirks fell, being capable of small area and brief effects, to Class 5, where powers capable of reshaping the landscape were. Above those was the 6th class. Every single quirk that landed on that class was capable of going against the logic of the world in cataclysmic proportions. Ninth had one such quirk, and it was capable of bending fate itself. He broke away from a sure prediction of a Class 5 quirk and altered the flow of history. His predecessors remained alive, in a sense, even after their demise at the hands of the monster who possessed the counterpart to their power. Ninth was still there, even when he should have ended with their war. If that thing was of similar capabilities too soon, way too soon. Then Ninth had to get rid of it before the world cracked like an egg. Because the class was only half of the reason he was frozen in shock and absolute dread. The second categorization was of the nature of the power, with the first part determining the type and the second the effect. A quirk that granted hydrokinesis was an elemental manipulation one. A quirk that permitted a person to secrete and detonate nitroglycerin was a chemical ignition. 1. And a quirk that let you give a physical form to a concept, like destruction, was a conceptual manifestation quirk. What do you want? Ninth knew if a fight started, Paris would go up in flames. He had to prevent the possible millions of deaths, by any means necessary. Ah. The cat floated upside down, locking its green eyes with Ninth's. Don't even think about it. You can't help me if you break yourself into tiny little pieces, kitten. Why do you want my help? The kwami grinned a cat grin, because, Deku, I need a hero. Ninth felt his gut twist into knots and his heartbeat drum in his ears. That wasn't his name. Not anymore. Never again. Deku was dead. He just hadn't remembered to stop walking. Oh, don't look at me like that. The cat being righted itself in the air. I know who you are. I know where and when you came from. And the most important part, I know how you got here. No. It was impossible. There was no conceivable way. Then why did Ninth catch himself asking, how? Thank him. The kwami pointed at the just as shell-shocked vestige of the first. Shigaraki Yoichi is as much an anomaly as you, kitten. His power, one for all, has no right existing. The same cat grin split its black-pelted face again. Yet, it does. Okay, eldritch horror cat thingy, better start explaining. First march to the floating kwami, his own green eyes steely. How did I get my kid in this even bigger mess? First dash. Stop. I need to know. I'm tired of seeing my legacy amounting to tragedy after tragedy. The man looked every bit his age with how defeated he suddenly sounded. Just, tell me. The cat snickered a cackle. Oh, that's golden. Floating to the vestige, the kwami patted First's cheek, much to their collective shock. Your legacy is the closest thing of an ascendancy that a human reached since the Dark Ages. Chin up, kitten, you might have just saved the world from breaking under the strain of the shift it went through. What the heck does any of that mean? It means, Banjo Daigoro, that without your predecessor, reality would have to start from the beginning when your race eventually imploded under the weight of its evolution. The cat seemed to be enjoying the reactions it got. If you know all our names, you could at least tell us yours. Ah, Shinomori Hikage, always the level-headed one. Fine, my name is Plagg. Plagg, gave a mock bow that would never be mistaken for respectful. But back on topic. Your little musketeer thing works a little differently from what you imagine. How so? Simply, N. No big reveal of his name. No, Shimura Nana. I'll not refer to him by a name he chose to abandon. Okay, proceed, cat god. Thanks. Now where was I? Oh yeah, one for all, as you kids call it, isn't attached to the body, but the soul. Plagg floated back to ninth, putting a paw on his forehead. It was never the flesh that carried the will, but the spark. While you all ran around thinking about the muscles to not turn poor Deku into a meat noodle, you forgot that there was only one part of a person that can really be passed on. And that is their spirit, Yagi Tashinori. Plagg turned to the golden colossus of a man, not at all bothered by his towering form. When you chose your successor, you haven't passed to him your flesh. It was your vision, your resolve that a world needs a symbol. The rest fell into place because of his own drive. That's nice and all. Second hadn't stopped staring, following the kwami with his eyes and noticing every little movement, and that's why he saw it, but cut the bullshit. You're acting all wise and composed, but you had been leading the conversation while holding back your laugh from the start. You're getting a kick out of this, aren't you? Plagg held a laugh, looking like he would fall from the air with how much he was wheezing. You got me. He didn't look bothered at all by the fact. The thing is, I'm usually not all that invested in things. I'm the one that comes to clean the house so Sugar Cube can do her magic, which doesn't lead to all that many chances to stop and smell the roses. The kwami once more blurred, appearing right in front of Ninth's face. But this time, I have every reason to get invested. And why's that? Ninth's face was blank, his voice level, and his stare flat. The only sign that betrayed his inner turmoil was the faintest of tremors from his tightly balled fist. Because of you. Plagg's smirk became bigger and sharper, almost predatory. You, kitten, can solve everything in one fell swoop. Everything meaning. Why did Ninth feel as if he was talking to Sir Nighthigh again? Like the other person knew every move he would take and what it would lead to. The later parts aren't important now. Plagg waved off as if pushing the thought away, then he drew closer. The part that you need to know, is that you can save my friend. Ninth knew he lost whatever hope he had of wriggling his way out of that mess then and there. What happened to your friend? Is he in danger? Yes. Plagg's voice took a bland tone, but his whole body seemed to lose coherence for a second. The kwami took a deep breath and calmed down. He got taken away from us a long time ago. Too long. Whoever has him is in this city, and they're going to abuse his power to destroy it. There was more to the story, there always was, but it was clear that the cat was being genuine. It only put another nail in the DMN coffin. They won't. Plagg opened a smile of the cat who just got the canary. Oh, and why do you say that? Because Deku was dead, but if he was still walking, if he was still standing, then he would keep fighting. Until the bitter end. I am here. I'm glad you are. Plagg opened a more honest grin. Everything was going just fine, but he still needed to wrap things up if he wanted to make it in time. I would love to talk the day away, and I'm sure you're itching to ask a million questions, but I need to give you something real quick. Give me something. And he was on guard again. Great. Well, at least he was careful. Don't start. I can't get one-upped by these guys. He gestured at the collection of souls in the room, stopping a second more in the Toshinori kid. They gave you a weapon to survive in their war, I can at least do the same. You can transfer your quirk too. Plagg rolled his eyes, not a quirk and no. But there is something that will give you access to a fraction of my power, just enough for you to do your usual hero routine. He floated to the box containing his Miraculous, snickering at the reminder of his new kitten's paranoia with how cautious he was to open the box. See this ring? It will channel some of my power to you. The boy looked warily at the silver band, the blank facet glinting in the light. I don't think I need this, thank you. Ha! In any other case, Plagg would have thought the kid conceited, but no. The kwami knew very well what the kitten was capable of, which was why he had chosen him in the first place. His plan would make sure everything would get back as it should. One way or another. At least hear him out first. 9th. Thanks, Shimura Nana. Nana is fine. Plagg shrugged, not like it mattered to him. If you put this on and say the phrase Plagg, claws out, the Miraculous, what this thing is called, will synchronize us to let you use my power. Not only that, it will take a portion of it to create a hero costume for you, and as an added bonus, the mask will have a special magic that will make you impossible to recognize. To go back to normal, just say Plagg, claws in. Ah, there was the notebook. Plagg was wondering when it would pop up. While his kitten muttered a storm and wrote his thoughts down, N inched closer and gave the ring a once-over. How does this do all that? Magic. Yeah, right. Well, 3rd. Plagg didn't particularly like those two, but only because they had been mean to his kitten for a little too long, in his opinion. He gave the two soldiers a flat look and gestured to the Miraculous. If you remember, before your precious superpowers became the norm, they were also thought impossible. And even before that, magic was very present in the world, even if what you humans think it is and what it actually is are two very different things. How so? The boy's earnest question made Plagg crack a smile. He quite enjoyed the faded but still alive spark of curiosity in his kitten's eye. Plagg picked the Miraculous and handed it to the boy, not caring for the rules of how kwamis shouldn't touch the Miraculous without permission. Or most rules in general. The things your smarty scientists on their fancy island discovered about how conceptual powers work, how they rewrite a point of reality and said point rippled out. Magic is like that, but you don't need any fancy genetics for it. Plagg floated beside the kid's head as he took every detail of the bland ring, once more gesturing to it, have the right materials, do the right actions, make the right items, and anyone can do magic. You'll be cutting that and going to the source, in this case, me. And what else can you do? Destruction seems like, let's say, a very vague and broad concept. That's only because the humans who made this didn't know what they were talking about. Plagg was still somewhat salty about his friends and him getting such small terms slapped to them, but what else could he expect of an infant race who still knew so little? I'm the inside of the wheel, kitten. Destruction. Death. Bad luck. I'm the whole thing. So, the cat god comment was on point. Yoichi Plagg would admit having a soft spot for him, but only to himself, also examining the ring with his last successor, pointed at Plagg with wary eyes. You're some Lovecraftian outer god, aren't you? Oh, that guy was a riot. Really missed the mark, but me and the others got a laugh from it. Plagg remembered when they messed with the author that one time, giving him a nightmare of the kwami's true form. Not enough to break his mind, but enough to inspire the wacky stories he produced. Wasn't he in but? That too, 5th. Yoichi gave Plagg a side glance. So, ninth helps you save your friend, you give him magic powers, with no sanity or metaphysical damage to his person. That's it? For now, yes. Plagg would have time for the rest later. Now, put it on, and let's go. Wait, what happens if someone takes the ring off my finger? You revert back to normal. Plagg had a front row seat of the boy's mind deconstructing a problem and making a solution to it. His kitten dashed to his work table, then the closet. Back to the work table, and then he had the Miraculous firmly secured on a chain on his neck when he walked back to the group. Ah, if his past kittens had been half as creative. Or paranoid. Either or. Now, no one will pull a fast one on us. Perfect. But you might want to be fast and transform already. Second, Plagg wasn't calling those two by name any time soon, still watching the kwami's every movement, growled, and why's that? Plagg didn't need to answer, as in that moment, the whole room shook. The vestiges traded concerned looks while the kid dashed to the far wall and turned on the TV. You gotta be kidding me. Was his scalding reaction to what he saw. On the screen, a helicopter gave a nice view of a rock monster, like a golem, rampaging through Paris streets. Plagg hissed, that's his power. Whoever has my friend, whoever stole Nuru from us, is abusing his power to cause that. What is his, Nuru's, power? He's the kwami of transmission. Whoever has him is using his ability to control a person and force on them a power to fight for them. Plagg chose his words carefully to get the reaction he needed, which was all the members of the little brotherhood around him prickling in anger. It's just like my brother all over again. No, All for One at least didn't strip people of their control, leaving them prisoners in their own bodies while they sought chaos. The Nomas were at least brain dead, and whoever followed him could still think for themselves. The kid's words were as sharp as a blade and as scathing as a volcano. He was out for blood. How do we help them? There's an item that works like a pseudo-miraculous, destroy it, and the person will be freed. Got it. He grasped the ring dangling from his neck tightly, then put it under his shirt. Let's go. Let's. Plagg perched himself on the kid's shoulder, knowing what was coming. He opened the large window beside his bed, gave himself distance, and then with a running start, he leaped, green lighting consuming his form. Plagg, claws out. The green was taken by black, the darker color spreading and overtaking everything, but then, the green grew brighter. In the end, both found balance. Up in the Parisian skyline, zipping through the air, was a new figure. Or it was better to say, an old figure that finally found a reason to come back. Deku took a deep breath, and he felt alive for the first time in a long while. He checked himself quickly, a surprised look flashing through his face. He was wearing his hero costume, or at least an approximation of it. The suit reminded him of the stealth suit he wore during his mission for the World Heroes Association. Jumpsuit, utility belt full of pouches, his modified boots/greaves/leg bracers, and respirator, all in pitch black with dark green accents. Those were the familiar if slightly different parts. The completely new ones were the sleek silver gauntlets that covered everything from his biceps down, with the wrists and hands being protected by a more streamlined form of his old Air Force gloves. The domino mask resembled Gran Torino's and made his eyes look like a cat's, with the irises occupying the whole orbs and the pupils being a sharp slit. To top it all off, his hood had its protrusions, they aren't bunny ears. Which were usually long and thin, now broad and short, looking like a cat's ears when they were flatted back. A loud crash reached his ears. Now wasn't the time to admire his new look, he had people to save. Deku pulled his hood up and flared full cowling to 25% for a split second to kick the air, the lightning covering his body a perfect mix of black and green. In a second, he was barreling toward the source of the chaos. He had a job to do, and he would not fail this time. Never again. Marinette, breathe. Tikki tried to help her little bug to calm down. The imperative word being, tried in this case. There's a giant monster wreaking havoc out there. The girl paced from side to side, pulling at her pigtails. Tikki knew this would happen, thankfully she had explained everything before things got heated. Still, they were losing time they didn't have. Marinette, I know you're scared, you have every right to be, but right now there are people out there that need your help. Why me? Ah, there was the self-doubt. Why choose me? I can barely walk in a straight line without tripping, and you want me to go out there and fight a monster? No. Tikki sighed, knowing very well patience wouldn't be enough here. She had to spell clearly to her little bug if they were to make things work. I'm the kwami of creation, but that doesn't say it all. I'm the yang side of the wheel, Marinette. Creation. Life. Good luck. I'm the one that, when things are the bleakest, brings hope that they will get better. Tikki floated closer to the girl and touched her forehead. That is what everyone, needs you to be. Don't go out there to fight, go out there to save. I know when the moment comes, you will reach out to the people needing your help. How can you be so sure? Because I know that you won't think, your legs will move on their own. The kwami watched the glint of memory passing through her eyes, reminding her of a person who said something similar that very day. Marinette's bald hands shook, but still, she had that fire in her eyes again. Why me? She repeated the question. Because you are worthy. Now let's go, your partner is probably already out there and he also will need your help. That was what finally made the girl move, to Tikki's immense pride. Her little bug was terrified, but she still chose to face her fears rather than leave someone helpless. Marinette clipped the Miraculous to her ears, the earnings still black and bland. Okay. Okay. I can do this. I can do this. Tikki patted her little bug's cheek, I know you can. Tikki, spots on. A blinding red flash of light filled Marinette's room. When it finally died out, the girl was now in a red bodysuit with black dots splattered onto it haphazardly. Checking herself, Marinette frowned at the bland outfit, a one-piece thing with no real defining feature. The belt almost blended with the fabric, and the domino mask covering her eyes was also so simple it became unremarkable, color palette aside. The only slightly eye-catching thing was the earrings, now sporting ladybug patterns and slightly glowing. Okay. Okay. I can do this. I can do this. She climbed out of the trapdoor that led to her balcony, almost losing her footing when her room shook again. Marinette unclipped the small disc from her belt, which revealed itself a yo-yo. I still can't believe this is my weapon. It was the most familiar option, and Marinette had that incident where she learned how dangerous a yo-yo could be in apt hands, she just didn't feel hers were. Okay. Okay. Tikki said I could use this to move around fast, but how dash? Her question was cut off when the yo-yo zipped away from her hand on its own and hooked itself to another building's chimney. Oh, wait up, hitch. The string went taut, rocketing Marinette into the air. The girl screamed as she got dragged closer and closer to the sounds of conflict. That's a horrible idea. Oh, shut your trap. Guys. Yoichi stopped the argument currently going on inside the barren void where he and the other vestiges presently occupied. I know that magic accessories and chibi gods weren't what we expected for today's itinerary, but can we please stop squabbling like children? The outburst silenced the others, giving Yoichi time to look at the situation at hand. The void was different, the ruined ground being reduced to beaten dirt instead of broken concrete. Not only that, the darkness at the distance, usually like a moonless city night, was closer, much closer, and a complete blackout which cut vision a short few meters away from the core. And there was the core. Yoichi glanced up at the constellation of 9 colorful stars that shone what little light that realm now had. One for all was mutating again. What that would spell for the world, and them, remained to be seen. What is going on? I'm glad you asked. Yoichi, and the others behind him, bristled at the voice. It had the same something to it that his brothers had, that unidentifiable little thing that made people know it came from something they should get away from, and fast. The first's eye shot to the source of the voice. Two large, slitted green orbs met his. They were the size of floodlights, and the only thing visible in the blackness. SHT. Plagg, because it had to be, laughed at the curse uttered in English, a fair response, Yagi Tashinori. How are you here? Nana asked, hiding behind N. The sight was so comical it got another bark meow of laughter from Plagg. Oh, you see, a Miraculous synchronizes a kwami with the holder. The holder in question had a nice, cozy space for me to lounge in while he went to do his hero thing. So you just decided to chill here? Fifth, with no fear of the possibly eldritch horror standing a couple of meters away, went to the front of the group and shook his fist at Plagg. At least give us a warning, punk. Ha! And where's the fun in that? The eyes shifted from one vestige to the other. I'll be staying here while the kitten is out and about. Don't mind me. How the F do you expect to not mind the DMN glowing eyes in the dark? By paying attention to what the kitten is doing. Things are about to go down any second now. Well, that was ominous. Deku zipped from building to building, nothing but a black and green blur that approached the source of the conflict transpiring in Paris streets. He had already passed many flipped-over vehicles and ravaged roads, indicating the seriousness of the situation. Thankfully, he hadn't seen any signs of casualties until now. Here was hoping his luck would keep up. As if hearing his thoughts, the universe threw him a curveball. More accurately, it threw him a girl in a red bodysuit, who collided directly with his side. Danger sense hadn't given a blip of warning. The world had a sick sense of humor, and Deku usually was the punchline. With an exasperated sigh, he grabbed the girl in one arm while using the other to shoot out a strand of black whip that latched on a nearby lamppost. Biting back a groan from the pain the fifth's quirk caused, as if his skin and muscles were stabbed open to clear the way for it, Deku launched them in a pendulum movement that let him land safely in a sign further ahead. He finally looked down at the girl who had been screaming in his ear. Basic costume. No apparent mutation. Blue hair disheveled, blue eyes wide. Who are you? Marinette gulped, gaze locked with the glowing stare of the superhero, the proper superhero, over her. Her tongue refused to work from fear of how high they were, embarrassment from being held bridal style, and just awkwardness from talking to someone she just crashed into. The ground shook again. Deku remained balanced on the thin metal bar under his boots, but he had to lower himself to compensate for their weight. Ah, if only he could use float consistently with the amount of one for all he could handle. While the tremor scared Marinette, it at least shook her back to her senses. The girl collected herself somewhat while the person holding her "don't think about it" grumbled under his breath. I'm your partner. My kwami told me about all this and gave me the rundown of how the cat and Ladybug have to work together to balance each other. I know you have more experience with it, but I promise I'll try my best. Wow, that sounds weak even to Marinette. There's a counterpart to the cat Miraculous? Deku's question made the girl blink at him dumbly. He shook his head, no time for that. You want to help, right? Yes. Why did that sound like a question? Wait, your kwami didn't explain things to you? Just got it, and we had some other business to go through first. Deku would need to sit down and grill Plagg for info later. Now, he had to stop wasting time and get a move on. Follow behind me, take people away from the line of fire, and let me handle the fighting. It was clear the girl was completely green to that, but if she had the courage to suit up and stand up, Deku would respect her will. He had to. He wasn't that much of a hypocrite to stomp on a person's longing to help. Oh okay. I'll, follow your lead. Deku. For the first time in years, introducing himself didn't leave a bad taste in his mouth. Call me Deku. Another quake, this one closer. No time to chat, they had to act. Deku leaped from his perch, releasing the girl but holding her hand to drag her along his arc. How do you move around? What? Answer the question. My yo-yo. It had been pulling me along and flinging me around. Deku could work with that. He took advantage of being at the apex of their trajectory to point out places she could use, chimneys, balconies, lampposts, focus on simple spots to hook your yo-yo. Map a route in your head and imagine how you can switch from one point to the next. Don't be afraid to land and think if you need to. Deku knew from experience it was worse to crash than to take a break and breathe while moving at extremely high speeds throughout an urban environment. Alright. While Marinette's heart was in her throat, Deku's commanding voice had something to it that just made her listen. His level tone and punctual instructions stuck to her and made the girl focus on something besides her panic. Deku was so over his head it wasn't even funny, but that was how he usually flew, blind and clueless. He still made things work, so plus ultra. Tree up ahead, sturdy branch horizontal to the street. Latch onto it and swing to the next traffic light. Marinette felt her body moving to follow the commands, Deku's hand still holding hers in case she messed up, helping smooth the edges of panic. She threw her yo-yo with her right hand just as Deku shot his left fist forward, and from his gauntlet something came out, black and tinted with green, like the lightning over him. Yeah, she noticed that and she had questions, but more solid. Marinette couldn't find the right word to describe it. The black thing also shot out and latched on the branch. They got dragged by momentum down, then back up and forward. In sync, they let go of the tree and repeated the same at the traffic light. Then Marinette aimed for a balcony to turn a corner, then a gargoyle, a water tower, an outdoor. At each maneuver, she got more confident. Deku, who had matched her every movement while tightly holding her hand, suddenly let go and pulled ahead. Marinette felt a rush of panic, but her body continued the rhythmic movement almost on its own. She gulped and focused, keeping her pace and slowly approaching Deku. The boy looked back and nodded. That was all he could offer for now. Taking an untrained, unprepared, unknown, and a lot of other things that started with one person to a battlefield was a horrible idea, but his short-lived but somehow successful-ish career was made of awful ideas that somehow ended up paying off. What the F was he doing? He shoved the part of his mind that sounded like Kaken, and Second, and Gran Torino down into the dark recesses of his mind. Deku was doing what he believed was right before he could think better. That's how he got this far. Second-guessing could be saved for later when he had time to scream at himself. Keep moving, I'm going ahead. Before the girl Deku had to get her hero name later could say anything, he pushed one for all past his soft limit again for a burst of speed. He trusted the girl to catch up on her own. With spikes of acceleration, while tearing through streets like a demented pinball, Deku quickly reached the source of all the chaos he had been hearing. Honestly, he saw worse. Police vehicles were parked haphazardly to provide cover, with officers taking shots when they could, to minimal to no effect. People caught in the war zone that suddenly broke out, trying to flee in panic or hiding in fear. The braver ones helped who and where they could while trying to stay clear, which was half the reason no one died yet if Deku was to take a guess. All in all, nothing he hadn't dealt with before. The part that got a slightly raised eyebrow was the rock colossus at the center of it all. With a build that would put it close to the more physically powerful Nomus, thick arms and chest made of rough boulders which formed humanoid features, and a simplified head with basic characteristics that composed its face. Glowing eyes focused on a car where a particularly brave cop fired at it. The golem ripped a part of the street that explained all the craters on the way over, took aim, and flung it at the pesky fly annoying it. Not on his watch. Black and green energy exploded from his form as Deku bolted at the rock, sailing through the air like a missile. He winded his leg back, adrenaline and power coursing through his veins. The shocked and fearful people of Paris witnessed the fantastic sight of a person cloaked in lightning like a wrathful god pulverizing a stone the size of a bus with a single kick. At the moment of collision, old habits buried deep inside took over and Deku found himself shouting from the bottom of his heart. Smash! His reinforced shoe impacted the boulder with such force it came undone, with the energy jumping to it and ripping the surviving chunks into tiny pebbles that broke down into dust. The boom of displaced air blew away the dust before it could accumulate. Flipping over, Deku readjusted himself in the air and landed on top of a police car. Everyone was staring at him. Perfect, everyone. Get clear, I'll hold the villain back, get to safety. Who are you? The officer he just saved from being flattened was the one to shout. The man had fallen over, but the grip on his pistol was firm and it was trailed onto the dark figure that just showed out of nowhere. I'm Deku, the hero who came to save you. DMN, he was so nervous that morning cartoon quotes started to spill out. Deku really needed to get his head in the game. At the thought, danger sense flared. The hero leaped back, just as stone hands burst from the ground and reached to grab him. Time to see if his magical costume was functional. Deku extended his right arm forward and braced it with his left hand, fingers positioned to flick. The wrist bracer snapped forward, cupping his right hand perfectly. Delaware smash. Compressed bullets of air were fired out from each flick of his fingers. Thanks to the pressure and speed, the masses of air destroyed the earthen hands before they could reach him. With a focused glare, Deku locked on his next target. More bullets flew at the rock monster but were caught by pillars of earth that sprung out of the ground. Geokinesis. Moderate speed, precise control, can't reinforce controlled matter. Deku could handle that. He threw strands of black whip at some mostly intact pillars to slingshot himself forward. You. The earthen being's voice was like boulders grinding against each other. You have it. Give me your miraculous. How about you let the person you're puppeteering go first? Deku's roar was followed up by his metal saws driving into the golem's arm, which was put up in a hasty block, cracking it. That was bad. This thing handled a 25% strike. No. The cracks were deep, and chunks fell out from the point of impact. Deku could break it and hopefully reach the person underneath. For that was the thing, from the way the rocks were connected, the person that whoever had Plagg's friend hostage possessed was inside the golem's torso somewhere. Before Deku could try anything else, the monster threw its arm wide, flinging him away. That was the moment the red girl arrived. She caught him and brought Deku to solid ground. You okay? Deku nodded at her, yes. Get people away quickly, that thing can go for anyone with its geokinesis. He sprung back up and threw himself back into the fray. Stay away from the ground. He shouted that last bit of advice over his shoulder before focusing again on the combat. For a moment, Marinette could only stare as those two forces of nature collided in the middle of Paris. When the gust of wind from the fight almost threw her on her back, the girl realized she had more important things to do than gawk. Her yo-yo zipped away, almost from thought alone, and pulled Marinette away. She swung in and grabbed anyone too close to the localized disaster currently ongoing, noticing how light people who were heads, shoulders, and some of their torsos over her. Marinette was short, okay? Not to mention almost 2 times her weight felt like plumes in her hands. Everything blurred in another rhythm, like when she was swinging with Deku. Throw, jump, pull, land, grab. Throw, jump, land, release. Again and again and again. When Marinette broke from the trance and started hearing more than the sound of her heart drumming in her ears, she noticed the police personnel staring at her. While swinging around and rescuing people, Marinette's organization kicked in and she put all the uniformed people behind a police armored car that matched the color of their bulletproof vests. You guys okay? Her answer was mostly pointed stares. Thankfully, an older man wasn't too dumbfounded to answer. Yes, thanks to you kids. We were barely holding the line against that thing. He peeked over the vehicle's protection to see Deku and the monster trading blows, the hero landing 5 for every hit that grazed him. Didn't expect that when I got up today. You can say that again, Marinette muttered under her breath, also watching the battle while half hiding. Aren't you going to help him? The girl was startled. Me? I barely got here in time, and Deku looks like he knows what he's doing. Unlike me. The older officer reloaded his firearm, giving Marinette a meaningful look. We are all over our heads here, that doesn't mean we can't do something. He looked back at the others behind him, a set frown on his face. Make a perimeter, don't let anyone get close, and make sure that thing doesn't leave. If the kid clears the line of fire, fill that BSTRD with lead. Yes, Chief. Marinette gasped, her face slack in surprise. You guys can't. You're gonna get hurt if that monster comes at you. So what? It's our job to stand up and protect people. The chief gave the girl a hard stare while the cops Marinette just saved rushed to block the street entrances. We fight for the people, girlie. I thought someone who put on a colorful suit and went to be a superhero, and I can't believe I just said that, would understand. Marinette tightened her hands into fists. Those people didn't have magic powers given to them, and while Marinette hadn't asked for those, she still had them while they didn't. Still, she was the most useless person there. Her eyes went back to the fight. Deku, with the same powers but doing much more with them, using them without fear, being able to accomplish something with them, kept the Colossus back on his own. The hero dodged one of the bulky hands trying to swat him like a fly. He ducked and went for the legs, smashing a sizable part of them into dust. The monster roared, more in anger than pain. It brought its hands up for a hammer strike. Deku braced, blocking the linked stone hands with crossed arms. The energy over him sparked erratically as the street under his feet crumpled and cratered at the force. He roared and pushed the golem back, taking advantage of unbalancing his enemy to deliver a thunderous punch to its chest. Marinette's knuckles cracked from how hard she squeezed her hands shut. She didn't want to be useless. So, girlie, what are you waiting for? Thanks, officer. Just doing my duty and helping the people I swore to protect. And I think it's time I do that too. Marinette was scared, yes, but more than that, she was angry. Angry at the thought of being useless. Angry at the thought of standing by and watching as someone got hurt. She would have time to cry later when everyone was safe. Deku was making headway on cracking the stone shell the monster had. Unfortunately, most of the damage was focused on the arms. He needed an opening to truly make damage to where it counted. Something red at the corner of his eye grabbed his attention. The girl was circling around, trying to remain out of sight. Did anyone need help? Were they stuck? Damn it, he could only keep the golem's eyes on him and hope for the best. He needed something loud and aggravating, so nothing better than harnessing his inner Kaken, getting tired, rocks for brains. The monster roared, stop running away. Stop missing. Deku avoided another clunky fist and threw out a punch, blowing away another chunk of earth from the arm attached to it. At this rate, you'll be a pebble before this is over. No. I am Stoneheart. No one can hurt me. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for part 2. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and author Bola 8 on FANFICTIONnet. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.